Welcome to Wealth Beyond the White Coat, a show where we dive deep into the world of financial freedom for dentists and medical professionals. I'm your host, Darren Flesher, a dentist with a passion for uncovering the strategies that lead to a prosperous life beyond the office. Every episode will explore the avenues of alternative investing, tax mitigation, and secrets to build wealth that the textbooks don't teach you. Whether you're looking to enhance your financial literacy, discover new investment opportunities, or simply find a better way to manage your money, this is the place where your financial health is the core of our conversations. Welcome to Wealth Beyond the White Coat, where your journey to financial clarity and freedom begins. Okay, welcome back to part 2 of our special series with Totally Oral. In this episode, we dive into the intricacies of private market investments and explore how dentists can diversify their income streams through alternative investments. So here we go. Yeah, there are 3 levels of kind of financial acuity, if you will, in the minds of SEC and all that. Accredited investor, you have $1 million in assets or $200,000 of income for the last couple of years. Almost every dental practice owner, literally every practice owner qualifies because your practice can be an asset that's worth $1 million. And there's a qualified purchaser, and then there's one other one that's I'm blanking on, but essentially they step up from there. But in general, the accredited is what you need to be to invest in any of these things. And literally all you have to do is check a box and self-validate that you're accredited to do any of those investments that Clint's talking about. I'm not saying they're good or bad. I'm just saying that's how they market, and they're marketing broadly, and they're looking for guys like you who are interested and have been interested in that kind of thing. And that may be a good thing for you, and it may not. Part of what we're trying to teach on my podcast is due diligence, asking the right questions, learning what goes into due diligence, like on the sponsor side, like the people I partner with to offer opportunities do their own due diligence before they bring the deal. Like they're not the operator. They are the ones like finding deals and making sure they're good before they'd even show them to you. And they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on that type of stuff and only filter it through if it meets their criteria. So that stuff that you're seeing on Facebook hasn't gone through any sort of ecosystem to be vetted by anybody. That doesn't mean you couldn't do your own. It doesn't mean it couldn't be a home run for you, but it just means you have to really dig in to make sure it's good.
Gotcha.
But I would say like just one really easy thing, like if people want to look at something like what you've been talking about, like RV parks or whatever you see online, for me, like almost an immediate disqualifier is somebody who didn't exist before 2008. That's just, if they haven't gone through a down cycle, they haven't had to survive bad times. That's really hard for me to want to trust that they're going. It doesn't mean that they couldn't, but just I haven't seen it. And so feeling like we're in a bubble right now, I don't want to find out, can they survive it if stuff hits the fan? So that's just my mentality on it.
You don't want to find out who's swimming naked, pretty much.
Exactly.
So, yeah. No, I know this is what this is. We've had what was it? I remember VOD, Voice of Dentistry, last time it was happening in 2023. There was somebody who came on our podcast, and we decided not to release the episode because he talked about, it was another dentist who talked about how he wanted people to come pay him $50,000 a year for him to present opportunities. And it sounded like a scam to us, honestly.
It was
I think I know who that is. Yeah, I understand. I think I know who you're talking about. Yeah, I remember that.
Was he from Dallas? Was he a guy? Was he out of Texas?
Yes.
Okay. Then we don't the same guy. Yeah, we might have to edit that out because I don't want to be you're liable for slander.
There's lots of dentists in Dallas. It's okay.
Okay, good. Yeah, we'll be edited out. But no, we talk about who it was because there's only one guy we talked about Dallas. He doesn't want a podcast. But no, I just refused to release this episode because I didn't want some dentist listening to it and saying, "Oh, this sounds like a good idea," because it sounded very convincing. I was like, "This sounds just too good to be true." It would have made me feel so terrible if some young dentist took that bait, hook, line, and sinker, and then gave this guy $50,000 because I said, "I just don't believe you." Nobody gives away that good of advice without I don't believe you.
And if you get a return, you just write him a check, and then he might say, "Oh, go buy Apple stock. Thank you for your money." You're like, "Wait, hang on."
Part of what I'm trying to do, I want to give away as much as I can for free on the knowledge side, like the information, digest and learn principles and ask your own questions. The only thing I ever want to charge for is hopefully just access to a deal or higher level access to me or whatever. But like currently I'm really not monetizing much of anything, to be honest. Like it's just putting out a podcast every week, bringing on a different guest who's in that ecosystem that I already do business with for the most part. talking about how to look at a deal, what they look at when they decide on a deal, their track record in the industry. Like, they don't come on to actually sell anything, but often they do have things to sell. But the whole point of the podcast is like, let's teach people how to be smarter about this stuff so that whoever they do business with, me or somebody in Dallas or whatever, like, hopefully they come in armed with the information to make good decisions.
I think too, some of these deals, if you're trying to put together deals and you're also investing in the deals, and you're upfront and saying, I am good putting my own money in this deal. It's like you're saying, like, hey, I'm putting my own money in this deal. I think to me that gives you a level of credibility.
Yeah, I put literally millions of dollars into all these deals combined over the last handful of years. So whether it was reinvesting money from my partial practice sale into opportunity zones and kicking the can down the road on taxes there, which I'm happy to talk about that some if you want to talk about that principle. Some of these oil and gas things to offset working income. And then some of it's just a total passive income play, whether it's a car wash or a self-storage or apartment complex. Like, some of that has no tax advantage. And typically, because it doesn't have a tax advantage, it usually has a little bit more return or hopeful return because it doesn't have some of these other things in place. Like, usually there's a little bit of a trade-off when there's one of those things that maybe has less of a return, but your personal ROI is way higher because of what it did for you on your tax return.
Sure.
Financial freedom is about making the right moves at the right time. As practice owners, we often reach a point where growth stalls. Instead of maintaining at that plateau, consider cashing in now, putting that money to work for you, letting it double, triple, or even more over the course of your career, and then go pursue more of what you love to do. This is exactly what I did with my friend JW, a dental practice broker who found the perfect partner for my practice, maximized its value, and optimized the deal terms. He offers a free valuation for those considering a sale. If you want an introduction and the same red carpet treatment shown to me by my friend JW, email me at darren@legacypointgroup.com. That's DEREN @legacypointgroup.com. And I'll be happy to connect you with JW to start your journey to financial independence.
Sorry, I was going to ask you what's with these smaller things you're buying. How are you making sure you're not the one running it? Because that's would always be my biggest. Are you making sure you're partnering with somebody saying, okay, they're running it and you're just funding the money?
Yeah, I don't run any of these things that I put the money in. Honestly, I've had some bad experiences. And so that's kind of part of also what I'm trying to do here is shortcut people and save them the brain damage of the things I've done. Like, I'm not perfect. Not every deal's gone well. Most have returned at least my principal. If they didn't give me a return, they at least got my money back. And I've had some that didn't do any of that. I'm just trying to teach people the good, the bad, and the ugly of private markets and let them hopefully learn from my mistakes.
Sure. Now, if I want to find those B-level investments or these apartment complexes, things that aren't widely displayed on Facebook, what do I do? It sounds like the obvious answer is listen to your podcast, but it's the kind of thing where it's more who you know, or it's something you get affiliated for, or just DM you after listening to this. How would I find those things? I'm curious. I want to find those opportunities.
All the above. So, if I can self-promote a little bit here for a minute. So essentially the podcast
Plug away, yeah.
The podcast is information, knowledge, all that stuff. If people really want access to the deals that we've just talked about, like the 506B deals, those are the people I've partnered with one of them actually a co-host with me, but he also has a brokerage and he's part of that ecosystem. They literally have triple digit deals at any given time that they as a company look at and bring through their ecosystem. They've got recurring partners who they inherently trust. They still go through their due diligence process, but they have recurring business with them. But yeah, all you have to do technically from a technicality perspective to invest in a 506B deal is have a relationship with a broker dealer who sells that thing. And they have to have an interview with you and get to know your investable assets and your diversification and make sure that they haven't overly placed you in too much concentration in either one asset class or one sponsor or anything like that. Like, they have some rules around having some integrity around what they're doing. They can't just say, hey, back up the truck and put $3 million in this one deal. Like, they've got to have a little bit of a recording that they did the right thing and gave you some optionality, and kind of the same thing we do when we talk to patients. We can't just hammer all on X. We got to really talk about dentures and all their optionality. And if you got preferences and stuff, like, they share that. They want to make sure that they get to know you and put you in the right things for what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, which makes sense.
I would imagine they're fiduciaries or of some extent, or something
Yeah,
along
the
those
main
lines.
partner is a fiduciary. He's a CFP. Yep.
I remember going through, came across something. It was right as COVID was hitting, and I just gone through a divorce, just moved back to Washington State, and there was this vetting process, and I was really bummed at first because I'm like, I would have met all these qualifications for the last 10 years, and I just don't right now. But then I realized at the same time, this is actually for your protection. For some reason, it's, hey, you don't qualify for this investment for now. That's not a bad thing. I'm glad they have these in here because then I need to, okay, I'm going to focus on get my feet set, get the new practice going, and keep this, establish these relationships, and I'll get back to them. And so it's one of those things that if it doesn't work out, you always hear sometimes that rejection is really for your protection. They've got that in there, but it's true.
Yeah, a lot of those kind of levels of accreditation that we were talking about a minute ago, they are meant to imply some level of sophistication, and that's why the government has them in place. But it also, like you said, it's for your protection so that you're not putting your last dollar in one of these deals and you can't afford to lose it, or you can't afford what we call the illiquidity premium. Like you're basically giving $1 away, hoping to get it back in 3 or 5 or 7 years, but it's not liquid. It's not like public markets where I could go pull it out. And that's for better or for worse. Sometimes that's also for your protection. When COVID happened, hotels go south in the same way that when the market crashes, like people want to go pull all their money out because it's just human behavior. If you're in one of these private deals, they're like, sorry about you. That's not the terms of the deal. You got to stay in. And all those people came out the other side of it much better off, as most people would in the public markets too, if they just held steady. But yeah, they don't want people to put $1 in that they need next week or next month to live on. Like you've got to have extra here.
Like you find a sweet investment deal, but then you lost your shirt and you can't feed your kid. That would just be the horrible scenario,
Yeah, that's a bad place to be.
It makes 100% sense to me, honestly. How many people really started doing gambling? I guess I'm actually curious about this.
Yeah.
What's your take? Because I've got strong opinions on this. What's your take on Bitcoin? How much money are you betting on crypto, if any at all?
I bought Bitcoin back when it was at $4,000, so I've still got a good fair amount of it. Nothing I can retire on, but yeah, I've got a little bit of Bitcoin. Back in the crazy like meme coin craze, I got on heavy on Discord and Reddit and got way down in the weeds. I bought one called Bonfire for a couple $1,000 and it went to $50,000 and I sold it at 35 and made 30 grand in 4 days. So I had some fun with some of that stuff, but yeah, in general, I believe that's going to be part of our future. I don't know if it's the future, the entirety of the future, but I do believe it has a role both as a currency and as a storage of value like gold. So I think it has multi-purpose there. I don't know where it's going to go. It seems like it's on its way back up and people think it might hit 100 grand this year. And I wouldn't be surprised, but yeah, I think it has a place.
What's Bitcoin right now? It's at 65?
65. I think it's 65, 70 or something
60-ish,
like that.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Gotcha. So it wouldn't be a bad purchase for some discretionary income, right? If it's going to go up to 100,000.
Yeah, maybe. I still don't see the use of it. That's my biggest issue is whenever I can start buying a pizza with it, let me know. If you could start. Do
you remember that story about the dude who did buy pizza with it way back in the day?
No, that is the first story with it, but you can't buy pizza with it easily. Yeah, that's my biggest issue with it. Like you can't. It's so hard to move. Like Ethereum, it makes more sense to me because you move it more easily.
Right. Well, wasn't Antonio Brown? There was a wide receiver that took his contract in Bitcoin, and then it just crashed, and he ended up with like next to nothing. I think he actually went broke this week, probably for a bunch of other financial decisions that he poorly made. But yeah, I'm with you, right? Like it's not. I wonder if it ever looked like a thinker.
I do know some people in Digital Investment Group are betting their entire futures on Bitcoin, but then again, they have discretionary income.
Hey, I just want to interrupt real quick and say thanks for listening to the podcast. If you didn't know, we have an associated Facebook group also called Wealth Beyond the White Coat. Over there, you can ask your questions, get feedback from group members, and have a close community of medical professionals who are likely interested in the same things as you. Whether it's alternative investing, tax mitigation, ways to keep more of your money, or even protect your assets, we're going to discuss those things in the group. Additionally, we have a private investors club called Legacy Point. As a member, you'll get exclusive discounts to preferred vendors, and you'll get access to private investments that you'll find nowhere else. Whether it's hotels, apartments, oil and gas, equipment rental, you name it, we'll be discussing those details and offering those investments to members only inside Legacy Point Group. If you want to learn more about that, please contact me. or simply email info, INFO, at legacypointgroup.com, or go to the website legacypointgroup.com. And Wealth Beyond the White Coat podcast listeners get an exclusive discount if you use the code WealthBeyond. That's all caps, all together, WealthBeyond at checkout. I'd love to have you in the group, and I'd love to see you making more passive income as you move towards financial freedom, whether it's freedom to retire early, spend more time with your family, go on more vacations, or just do more of what you love while you're in the operatory. I'd love to see you doing that as part of Legacy Point. So here's to improving your financial health.
Yeah.
Right.
Actually, but let's get back to an earlier point, because I know that, Darren, we were talking about tax strategies and whatnot. I know that you famously, or maybe not famously, you don't use a dental accountant, or you've said that before, but I guess you also have a lot of other assets, a lot of other things in the market. Talk about your accountant strategy. I'd love to hear your thoughts on accountants, because I am of the opinion that a good accountant is extremely important. I use a dental accountant, but I love my accountant too, because she's extremely aggressive.
Do you use an accountant at all, or just TurboTax?
No, I do have an accountant, and I have used a quote unquote dental accountant in the past for many years and loved him. But now that I don't run the books for my practice, I'm not the primary owner, I don't feel the need to pay the dental tax anymore on that. That's my philosophy on it. I feel like we do pay the dental tax on accountants or anything, to be honest. And literally to that point, like my new accountant with literally nothing changing other than my ownership stake in my practice, but I still have that entity in some regard. I'm going to pay half as much this year in taxes. But like you said, sometimes that's worth paying for. Like sometimes it's value. So I'm not saying it's good or bad that I'm paying half, but obviously for my budget, my bank account, it's good. But hopefully they also do a good job. No, I don't think most things you need to have the word dental in front of, other than specific dental equipment. Like I don't use, funnily enough, I just bought a new ultrasonic like instrument shaker, and I don't buy a dental anything if I don't have to. So that's from eBay, and $140 or whatever, and does the same thing. It's a little bit louder, and maybe it goes out every 3 years instead of every 10, but for the price, it's just easy. Some things I'm still in that startup mindset where I can't get out of the cheap mode on what I'm buying. Same thing with like computers. Like I buy everything refurbished on eBay for $200 for a all-in-one. In the same way, like dental accountant, I definitely had one for a while. He served a purpose. He did a great job for me. But in the end, like business is business. Like these write-offs are not unique to dentistry. Like whether it's cost segregation or home office deduction or any of this kind of stuff, every business can benefit from those. You don't have to be dental anything to understand what those things are.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think the biggest issue I've ever seen with accountants are when I see my friends or other business owners, and their accountants are giant wusses. Like they're like, I've got a good friend up the road who owns a gym, and he's, oh yeah, my accountant doesn't let me write off anything. I'm like, then why the do you have an accountant? Like she's like, oh yeah, I took these receipts to my accountant. She's like, did you really need that for your business? I'm like, then why the hell are you using an accountant then? Go find another accountant. Like your accountant should be as aggressive as possible.
The problem with accountants in general, and it's not their fault, like it's a volume game. Like they don't get to charge more or less based on the advice they give you. Their whole job in their mind is to avoid more work in the future. So that's why they give that advice. If given the choice between telling you that you could do something, but it might mean I've got to defend this in an audit later, or I could say, don't do that because I don't have to worry about it in the future. They're going to tell you the latter. Like they're not going to push the boundaries here if they don't have to. So that's the limiting issue with most accountants. You want to make sure you find one that you can ask some questions to, and you don't have to go super gray with anything you do, but they should definitely do almost everything I've talked about. Like that's pretty, I've been really surprised at some not allowing vehicle deductions or mileage deductions or any of that stuff. I'm like that. I haven't even thought about that stuff in 8 years. Like that's just been, if somebody said I couldn't do that, like I wouldn't even have a conversation with them as my accountant. Like that, they wouldn't even be an option. Yeah.
And Darren,
that's kind of the basic.
I learned that in reverse, where I had this accountant before who, he was fine, but it was just very straightforward. And anything else I'd ask him, it would seem like it was out of the box. I wasn't trying to do anything crazy. You just here's your profit and loss. You bought this paper at Office Depot. That's an expense. And it kept it in that framework every year. And I end up having 2 offices, several 1099s that you get from insurance companies. I could see why this would take a long time. And every year it seemed like it was about $1,800 to $2,000 to do my taxes. Then I sell the practices and I become an employee dentist. I was still a 1099 contractor. Wife has a W-2. I mean, it's just so easy. It's here's my 1099, or I made like 200,000 or whatever. And he was charging the exact same. And wait a minute, this is really simple. And so I realized with him, I think what it was, he just knew, hey, for Clint and Timmerman every year, I'm just going to spend 3 hours doing his taxes. So you're right. He just needed it simple. I just made it easier for him. And I was expecting it to be half as much. So you're right, anything that gets too creative, that's going like, whoa, wait, this is too much effort, too far in the weeds. You're right. If you have a future audit, but then Russell, to your point, if your accountant's not trying to maximize everything legitimate, but just maximize a strategy for you, then why do you have that guy?
Agreed. All right, that concludes part 2, where we discuss the benefits and risks of various private market investments, including oil and gas, real estate, and more. We also covered the importance of due diligence and shared some practical advice on identifying and vetting investment opportunities. Don't miss part 3, where we continue our conversation on investment strategies and go deeper into specific examples of successful investments. Plus, we'll share some final thoughts on how to build a solid financial future beyond dentistry.
Thanks for listening in to Wealth Beyond the White Coat. Your time and attention mean a lot to us. If you found value in today's episode, please consider leaving us a review on your favorite podcast platform and share it with your colleagues and friends. Your feedback helps us grow and reach more professionals like you striving for financial freedom. Until next time, keep pushing the boundaries of your financial health. Thank you for joining us on this journey to wealth beyond the white coat.